Hello, this is Christy. In this video, I'm going to show you a nice trick I use in Camtasia sometimes when I want to make my tutorials more exciting, more interesting. And if I want to show a detail on the screen, instead of zooming in and out, there is another option that you can use. It is a little more involved, but it looks so cool. And I have this tutorial here, and I want to show you on this tutorial how I use this effect to create a zoom that you zoom into an area only for a portion, just like you're using a lens zoom to look at your screen and to highlight a specific area of the screen. So let's have a look at this project. I created a fake project here where I am supposedly walking you through the interface of Camtasia. And it's nothing special in here. I just go through all of the section and I put some markers in here. So let's play this one and see what it is. On the left hand side, you have the main sections of the program. You can switch between these. They have keyboard shortcuts, but you can also click on them. So as you can see, I'm just walking through the main sections of the Camtasia interface, and you can see that my screen is actually zoomed out quite a lot, so it's kind of hard to see. Now, in a normal tutorial, I would probably just don't spend time to do this effect that I'm going to show you, so I will usually just zoom in to that region. So let me show you how I would do that in a classic way. So I go to this video here, and here's my screen track, the one at the middle there. And if I want to zoom in on that area using a little bit of an animation, I just place my playhead where I want to be completely zoomed into that area, and I press Shift and A, which adds a custom animation. So with that animation, you can see it down there on the timeline. With that animation, I will zoom out and drag the screen recording to scale it up like this. So if I zoom back into the main canvas, you will see what happens. Side, you have the main sections of. So as I play, the video zooms in to that area that I'm showing. Now, that's nothing special about this because I have actually used this a lot, and you will see this a lot in my videos, like every time. But how can we make this more interesting? So what I want to do is I want to, instead of zooming in the screen, the whole screen to that corner, what I want to do is I want to create a little circle like a lens that you are hovering over the screen and you are looking at those areas in detail, scaled up, but just inside of that circle. You will probably see what I mean when I show you what it actually looks like. Let me remove this animation here because I want to leave my screen untouched. I'm not going to zoom into this particular screen here, but I want to see the detail area of this particular corner that I'm showing. And I want that to move as well. So you will see the mechanics and the physics of this effect. They are really great. Once you understand how they work, you're going to think, oh, this is awesome. And you can move your lens and the zoomed area moves inside of that lens. Let me show you how to do it. This is going to be easy to do because we will use a duplicate of the screen track. The reason I need that because is one of them is going to be static, the one you're looking at right now, and another one is going to move inside of my lens, zoomed in. So I need to make a copy of that. Okay, so let's copy this. Select the track called screen here and select the clip on it and copy. And then go to the beginning of the project and paste. Command V or Control V on Windows. So you can see now I created a duplicate of the screen track. Nothing special here yet. Let's call this one Zoomed. Zoomed. Okay, so this is going to be the zoomed version. Okay, they are identical right now. There's nothing different on this one. But watch this. If I zoom in, and I can use Shift and mouse wheel on the Mac. On Windows, I believe it's Command and mouse wheel. And you can move this into the corner just like I did before, right? So I'm going to zoom this in quite close. Okay, I'm going to make it quite large. If you want to zoom in using the corners, you just zoom out a lot and then, you scale your object like this. So let's suppose that I am happy with this size. I'm back in here. And in fact, I'm going to put my camera on top because I want my camera to still be visible, right? But I'm not going to make any changes to my camera. So you know what? I'm going to lock my camera layer like this. So now we're going to deal with this zoomed in version. You see, if I pull it away, it actually is a copy of the other one and it's on top of it. That's important. It needs to be on top of the main screen. So how do we do this? Well, I want to actually show this zoom moving down as I'm explaining those sections, moving down, and the area inside of it moving and scaling. Okay, so the way that I will do that is I will use a media mat with a circle. So let's go to the annotations on the left and go to shapes. And from there we can choose this circle. And let's put the circle on the screen like this, and let's make it quite large. Hold down shift to keep it a perfect circle like this. This will be the zoom, if you like, the lens. I don't know what it's called. So this is going to be the zoom that's going to move up and down like this over the area that I'm demonstrating, right? But now look, it's moving and it's covering it. So what I want to do is first, let me move this out of the way, and I'm going to show you, because this is going to move over this area, this small area in the corner there. If I zoom in and show you, this lens, this zoom is going to move over this area all the way to the bottom right there, because that's what I'm showing in my tutorial, right? But instead of seeing this video through, it's going to show this video. Okay, so let's apply with this. Let's put this back in here behind it, and let's apply a media mat to this. Before I apply a media mat to it, I want to extend it to be for the whole duration of my project like this, and I will make a copy of it. Command C, Command V to paste, Control C, Control V on Windows. So I have two of them. The reason is I want to show a border around it, and because one of them is going to become a mask, the other one, you know, it's not going to show the borders either. So I need another one to create the borders. So let's make the mask, the one at the bottom there, let's make this one red, just so we can distinguish them. And you see, look, if I move this away, you have the mask, and then this one that's going to have the border. Let's put it back on there, and let's add a border to it. Let's put the thickness of the border. Let's make it white. Okay, so I'm going to make the border white. And for this one on top, the yellow one, I'm going to make the opacity of the fill 0. Okay, so I'm going to see through. The only thing I see is the border. Look, I just have the border now. So let's put it back in there. And the red one is going to become a mask. So click on the red one first, and let's go to Visual Effects and apply Media Mat to it. This Media Mat effect is so cool. You can use a lot of these. You can do a lot of things with the Media Mat. And there is, on the Mac, there is an effect called Mask, which does the same thing. Look, if I get the mask and I put it on top, look, it's behaving like a lens, like exactly what I'm trying to achieve now. And you know, you can have a opacity for it so that it shows a little bit of the background or whatever. I could use this on the Mac and just put this in there and not use this red circle, which, look, I am hiding it now. So as you can see, I am moving this, and the problem is the mask is an effect applied to the video. So I can't really, it's kind of difficult to animate that because, you know, look, the mask which I applied is applied to the video itself. And I can't animate that very easily. Plus, you cannot control the zoom level so easily on this because the effect is going to be applied to the clip itself. So I like to do this. Plus, on Windows, you don't have this mask, as far as I know. So I'm going to remove this effect, this mask effect. This is one way to do it, of course. But I'm going to remove this mask effect and instead bring back my red circle, which is going to be my mask, okay, and apply the media mat to it. And you'll see another reason why I use this and not this built-in mask, because I can move this around with the border. So let's apply media mat to the red circle right there. Okay, so nothing happened here except for the fact that the red circle has become a mask, just like the other one. Look, if I move it around, it's masking the clip right underneath. The reason it's not masking it yet is because my video track is in the way. So I'm going to move my video track one level down and watch this. If I now move this red circle, it is right above the scaled up video. Okay, so look, I'm moving it around and it behaves exactly like that mask effect, except now this is an object in itself. It's an object, an isolated object I can move around. So I'm going to put this one with the border, and from this point onwards I have to move these with the border, together with the border, right? Look, I select both of them using the shift key, the white circle with the border and the red one, which is my mask. And look, I am moving my lens all over the screen. This is right cool, right? So you can see the big screen below this, on top of the small screen, and I can move around and zoom in. But we're not done yet. This is the effect just showing me, I'm looking around with my with my zoom. But I want to animate this as I'm explaining, so it looks like it's moving and the area inside of the zoom is scaled up and moves with an optical effect of, because when you zoom over an area and you move it, the area inside of the zoom is perceived to be moving faster than the one the behind the main one. So how do we do that? Well, I'm going to go to the section here that shows this is the section that I'm demonstrating my movement on. So you watch my mouse cursor on the left. See, my mouse cursor is moving down the list like this while I'm explaining. So basically, this is the portion that I want to apply the animation to. So first of all, let's move to the end of the animation right there at the bottom. Okay, and I have both of these selected. Press Shift A to add an animation to it. And now pull the beginning of the animation until the beginning of the animation. Look, my mouse cursor is moving back, so my animation starts around here. Okay, around here it starts. All right, so look, this is my animation, and nothing's animated yet because I need to move my objects in place. So first of all, go before the animation and move. You see, these are still selected, these two circles. Move the zoom to the beginning of the movement, right there on top of favorites, right? Like this. And now, another thing we need to do is move to the end of the animation and make sure that the zoom ends in the end of it, like at the bottom of the animation, right at the bottom where the gesture effects is. If you need to move it out of the way to see where you're going, I need to bring it all the way down here where the gesture. So I am using the main non-scaled video as the reference, okay? So let's go there and put it down there, okay? I know I'm not seeing the right thing inside yet. So what I need to do now is go to the end of this animation, select my second zoomed video, and add an animation to that as well. So let's move the animation back to make it the same length as my zoom. And now I am in the beginning keyframe, and I need to move my video, the zoomed video, in place to start, because it needs to start in the same place, right? So I'm moving this to the beginning of the animation, which is still in the corner there, okay? But it's scaled quite large, and you can in fact scale it even more if you want to. Hold down the Control key on the Mac and use your mouse wheel to move it like this, and then put it in place. I'm going to put it right in the corner because that's where it begins. And now let's go to the end of it. The end of the animation is right there at the end of the keyframe, and my object has moved down, my lens has moved down, you see, look, this is the one, and I need to put my screen also in place at the end. But this one, I have to move it up quite a lot until I get to about here. If you want to pull in your zoom, select both of these tracks and move them in the middle like this, just so you frame everything nicely on the screen. Yeah. So when you're happy with the placement, here we go. So now you see this gesture effect is zoomed in. This is the end. If I hide the zoomed video for a second, you see the gesture effects isn't really in the middle. So what I want to do is I want to make sure that my lens is focused on the middle. That's why I'm actually moving it a little bit, referencing the original video, right? So the center of it is on this bar here. When I turn on my zoom video, I should probably move the zoom video also to the left like this. But I don't want to lose this area, right? So when you're doing this on edges of the screen, it might be a bit tricky, right? So I'm going to just leave the gesture effect like there, right there. Okay. And I realize that my zoom is kind of outside of the screen for a bit. It's not a problem. So let's see what we have achieved now. Let's zoom out. Okay. And let's play this. Look what happens. Program. You can switch between these. They have keyboard shortcuts, but you can also click on them and they will allow you to access the main functionality. Isn't that cool? My lens is moving down and the video inside of the lens appears to be scaled up and moving faster because it's moving over the smaller area, but the video is zoomed in. And if I zoom in here and I move it quickly, look, you can actually see my animation looks like I'm using a zoom over my video. Isn't that very nice? And also, if you want to scale the video even more inside of that, you just click on the zoomed video right there, and you can turn on the global animation on the top right corner. You see all of the dimensions turn red. And now, if I change something, it's going to change at both ends of this animation here, okay? So I'm going to use, again, mouse wheel and scroll and put the object, the video right there. So I'm going to actually scale this way up, okay? So it's even larger right now, okay? So take off the global animation and look at this. It may shift to the right for a second, but you can bring it back down using the animation back there and just put that back in the center here. I don't know why I actually offset it like this, but anyway, doesn't matter. Look at this. This is so cool. And I realize that my lens is moving towards the left a bit. Let's put it on the right a little bit like this. So watch this. It's moving up and down. Okay? And now that I have these elements in place, I can create more animations with the same idea. So what about if I'm talking about the media bin right there? Okay, this is the region where I'm talking about the media bin, right? So here we go, your media bin, which holds all of the files that you have in. I want to do the same here, right? So I'm going to place an animation in between these areas, and I'm going to make my whole thing disappear for now. Okay, so I select all three of these tracks. Okay, so hold down your shift key and select all these three tracks. And I have a very short animations down here. Look, if I zoom into the timeline, it's a short animation that makes everything disappear because I will put opacity 0 like this. And the whole thing disappears, right? So look at this, transitions, and I'm done explaining that region. So now I'm hiding it. But in here, I want to bring it back in a different position. So I go to the beginning of the region here where I'm talking about the media bin. You see the marker, and I'm going to add another custom animation, Shift and A, and I will turn the opacity up. And at the same time, I'm going to move the lens, only the lens, right? Okay, only the lens. So select the two tracks with the lenses. Okay, you see them there, and move them in place to where I need to start. And again, I'm using the background video as reference, and I will click now on the zoomed video and move that in place as well. So I want to start here at the top of the media bin, right there. And now I want to see what's happening. Look, it's coming on, and I'm moving there. Look, and it looks like I'm zooming in. And I'm actually going to just turn the zoom a little down, Command and mouse wheel, just to get the whole title fitting in there, right? And now let's go, where is the end of my explanation? So I keep going until about there, all right, right about here. So now again, select all three with the shift key, add an animation, make it long, pull it back until we begin explaining stuff. Okay, and now we repeat the same motion. We select the lens first, and we move that one down here where the end of the animation is, and select the zoomed track and move it up until we fit in the same area, like here. So watch this. This is the effect. Effects, transitions, and assets. Next to that is your media bin, which holds all of the files that you have imported in your project, and you can use those files. That's quite nice. And let's do one where we talk about the properties of the playback controls right there. You see them at the bottom there. I'm talking about the playback control all the way there. So we won't have the issue of being like on the edge of the video there. So we can actually play with it nicely. So at the end of this media bin, I'm going to actually select everything, all of the three tracks, and Shift A to animate and turn them off, opacity off. And now I need to put the playhead where I want to start this animation. So I go back here where before I start talking about the playback control, you see right there, I'm putting my mouse over it. So before I do this, I am going to move my objects in here and make them, put them right there at the beginning of where I want to talk about this. And let's turn them on, opacity 100. And then let's also move the video, select the video, the zoomed video layer, put the opacity up on this one too, And now let's move it. You can see I'm grabbing around here, but I'm actually grabbing this one that's inside the mask. And let's, okay, place this at the beginning right there on the same kind of area. All right. So now look, we came over here. And now we want to make sure, where am I moving this? So look, it starts moving about here. And it goes all the way when I'm explaining about all of the timeline and the controls with the timers and the frame numbers. Right there, it stops. Okay, so here, select all three of them, Shift key, Shift A to add an animation, and grab the animation while they're all three selected, and move back until I go to the beginning of the motion, right there. And now move the playhead at the end of the motion. And now let's put everything in place at the end. Select the two circles for the lens. I'm going to move that in place right there where my mouse is, right? I can't see the mouse sometimes when I put it on top. And grab the bottom. So you need to move these independently because you can't move them around because the zoomed video will not move at a different rate than the one you're moving. So that's why they need to be moved independently. So I'm grabbing now the screen, the zoomed in screen, and placing that in the middle right there. So right now, look, I am now going to play from here. See what happens. On the bottom, you have the timeline. Here are the playback controls, the play button, and then the next button, next media button, the progress bar, and also the timers and the frame number. That is really cool, right? So it zooms in and it moves along with the object, with the video inside of it that moves faster than the lens is moving. That's how you achieve this effect. And of course, you can improve this by just selecting these circle, the red, the border circle, the one that's white, the border. Let's add a drop-down shadow to it to make it pop off the screen for a little bit. So if you go to visual effects on the left there, we have drop shadow. And just drag the drop shadow to this circle here. And if I zoom in there, I know the screen is kind of dark, so you can move this at the bottom there, move the offset, make it opaque, like almost black. So look, if I move it on a lighter surface, you will see that it has a background shadow. See right there. So what I want to do is make sure that I'm making a bit blurry and not so far. And okay, so let's put it back in there in place. Okay, so now my lens has a bit of a shadow on it, and it looks like the inside. You see right there, there's a nice shadow that goes with it, so it makes it even more realistic. Because ideally, when you're moving a zoom over an object, there is also a shadow from the frame of the lens you're moving, so that makes it even more realistic like this. There you go. So this is how you create this effect. Let's try another one. Let's try when I'm talking about the edit modes at the top. You see them? They're very tiny right there at the top, right? So this is the marker where I'm talking about the edit modes. I'm going to, before this marker, I'm going to select all three of them and add an animation to it and move everything into place in the starting point right there. So let's go with this on the beginning of the explanation there. All right. And then make sure I select just the video layer and pull it down until my beginning of my explanation comes into view right there. Okay, it doesn't have to be really perfect. And now look, I'm talking about that area there. And look, the mouse comes in and it moves. So my animation ideally is going to start about here. Okay, and let's move all the way to the end of the animation where we talk about the drop down, which is right there. Okay, so now look, select all three again on the timeline, Shift A to add an animation, and grab the end of one animation and move them all back until we get back to where the mouse is coming in. Look, right here. This is where my animation is going to start moving. And go to the end of the animation now. Let's select the two circles and put them at the end of the thing. And then the video, the zoomed in video, move that one into view at the end of the view there. In fact, you can actually move this down because I don't actually travel so much with these two. I want to stay in this area right there. And then grab this one and put it in the middle like this. You can always use your mouse cursor as a reference to where the middle of the movement of the action is, right? So let's see what happens. Look at that. It's zooming quite nicely over this area. And I'm now talking about that selection tool, the corner pin mode, the pan mode, the crop mode, and the auto animate mode. And then you also have a percentage which indicates the current zoom that the canvas. If you want the movement to be more dramatic, like I said, you can grab the end of it at the bottom in the timeline, the end of the zoomed animation, the zoom video animation, and use mouse and just zoom it in more. So you're actually seeing way more right now. And go to the other end and do the same. You see, because now I'm zooming in the middle of it, so it looks like I'm putting the lens further up. So here we go. I'm going to move that one as well inside of that circle. So watch this. This is much more dramatic now because it's much larger. The pan mode, the crop mode, and the auto animate mode. And then you also have a percentage which indicates the current zoom that the canvas is at. Great, right? So I've been meaning to do this video for a long time, and I thought, okay, let me do this one now. And I hope it's a nice effect that you, I hope it makes sense, and I hope you understand how this effect works. It uses two videos, the main one that remains unchanged and untouched, and you're not zooming that in at all, and a copy of it that we are zooming in and focusing on the different areas in the inside of that mask that we want to show, and then moving it at the same time. So because it's zoomed in, it will have to travel more on faster, perceivably faster inside of the zoom area. So that is what achieves this effect. Let's look at the whole area again. So look, it goes in there, and then it travels down. Let's look at the first one where we show the tools. You see how cool it is? Let me deselect that. How it goes all the way down and then disappears, shows up in another place. It does that too. You know, all of this without actually zooming in my screen. So when I'm demonstrating this interface, the viewers can reference where I'm actually showing this from, right? Where in the screen this action is happening. Correct? So here we go. So that's the last one here where we go all the way up and then we do this nice motion there. So that's one way to do a zoomed in animation and focus on some area like spotlighting a different area. And if you want to be really, you can get creative with this. And while this movement is happening, you can maybe just go to the area of the screen, to the video of the main screen, and just maybe make it a little more transparent, right? So just before I do this movement, let's say on the bottom of the controls right there, okay, I can actually before I start, I can select the bottom screen track, which is the main screen track, add an animation to it, Shift and A, and make it less, opaque like this, darken it a bit, right? And then when you're done with your movement, you can Shift A again and bring it back up. So here we go. The timeline. Here are you can see how my screen dims a little bit. So I'm now focusing on that area. Playback controls, the play button, and then the next button, next media. Show you where you are in your project. And at the end of it, it comes back up. So very cool, very seamless, very nice experience for your viewers. And if you want to control the size of this lens, again, you can animate that as well. If you want to have a smaller lens for this particular area, you select both of those tracks, the one that's got the circles on them, and you can mouse wheel to make it smaller, right? So then that is a smaller zoom, and of course it scales up there at the end of it, so you need to scale it down as well in there, right? And there you go. You can control the size of that element if it's too big for your screen, right? So there you go. And as soon as you create all of this setup in your whole project, you can easily, like you see, you use all these animations to move this object around and put it in a place, put it in another place, and also if you need it to disappear, you can use the opacity controls to animate it out and in. Or if you want to, you can just make a selection and cut it. And for that portion here, you can just basically cut it, slice it, and remove it. And then you bring it back in and continue your animation. There you go. So cool effect. I hope this was useful. I hope it made sense. I know I explained a lot of stuff, but this shows you how the media mat, which is really, I mean, one of the greatest inventions in Camtasia in the last few years, you can do a lot of these cool things. And I know some of them are pre-built, like the mask in here on the Mac. I don't remember seeing this on Windows. So if you're on Windows, you would probably have to build this anyway, because I don't remember having that on Windows. So thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. By the way, I'm working on a Camtasia course. So if you would like to hear about that and sign up to get maybe early access as a member, sign up. There's a link in the description to my newsletter, and I will notify you when the course is out. And also feel free to subscribe to my channel, like this video if you liked it and if you enjoyed it, and I will see you on the next one.